Okay, welcome back to the channel. This will be episode number 7 of Warhammer 40k Imperium, and this is issue number 7. Okay, we will learn about the era Indomitus, follow detailed painting guide, and battle with our painted models. And we have no new models in this issue. All we have are 3 new paints. Here we have Retributor Armor, Corax White, and Mechanicus Standard Gray. Only 2 of them will be used in this issue. The Mechanicus Standard Gray is not required yet. But we have Ultramarine names and titles, Necron names and titles, the era Indomitus, the Space Marine details, which will be the painting on with the Corax White and Retributor armor on all the Space Marines done to this point. And then we have the 7th playthrough, Necron Resurgence. It says, in this issue, you'll learn all about the state of the Imperium of mankind in the worn-torn era Indomitus, before applying more paint to your expanding collection of Space Marines. When the paint on your heroic Ultramarine warriors is dried, you'll take them to battle against Necron foe in a new and exciting playthrough. Ultramarines names and titles. The genetic enhancements that lend each Space Marine their size and strength also grant them extended lifespans. The greatest of these superhuman warriors may fight for centuries, earning titles and honors, and leaving their name etched in the history books of their chapter. Ultramarine names. The Ultramarines maintain a tradition of noble names that can be traced back more than 10,000 years. In the intervening millennia, the names have been shaped by the culture of the worlds and realms of Ultramar, the Ultramarine stellar empire. The names of the greatest Marine heroes are well known across the Imperium and spoken in awe. Marnus Kelgar, Cato Sicarius, and Varro Tigarius. All have taken their place in the annals of mankind. The Ultramarines follow the same naming convention, possessing a first name and a second name. Pick a first name and a second name on the chart, or roll twice to assign one at random. Or if you prefer, you can use the contents of this chart as inspiration to make up your own names for each of your Ultramarine warriors. Okay, and how we do that is we roll d66, and of course it tells us how to roll a d66. This is how to roll a d66. To roll a d66, simply roll 2 6-sided dice, one after the other. The first result represents the tens, and the second represents the units, giving you a range between 11 and 66. When you have the result, refer to the table and check the corresponding row for the first name, and repeat the process to get a second name. And as you hear, the first die was a 2, which would be 20, and the second die was a 4, making it 24. So we have Baros Vespatar, Gnaeus Aurelius, Cato Cassius, Calu Palastus, Marcus Piso, Octavius Tarentus. So you can have a lot of fun with that chart. Okay, and here we have the same method for a D33, but this would obviously give you a result from 11 to 36. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 33. This is how to roll a D33. The process is exactly the same as rolling a D66, except the dice rolls of 1 and 2 count as 1. Dice rolls of 3 and 4 count as 2, and rolls of 5 and 6 count as 3. As shown on the chart to the right, you have rolled 2 dice, determined the tens and units. Refer to the chart below to get the first result of your roll, then roll the dice again to get a second result to complete the title. So basically you have half the roll. Okay, Space Marine hero titles. Ultramarine heroes and leaders such as captains, lieutenants, chaplains, and librarians often earn grand titles in honor and recognition of their victories and great feats. For example, Cato Sicarius, captain of the Vitrix Guard, holds the titles of Master of the Watch, Knight Champion of Macragge, and High Caesarian of Ultramar. The greatest Space Marine heroes are granted honorary titles in recognition of their service and their heroic deeds they have undertaken. Grant your Space Marine hero honors by rolling on the chart to the right or coming up with your own glorious titles. Okay, we have Shield of Corvan, Guardian of Rasmusus, Sentinel of Ix, Blade of the Meek. Okay, Space Marine honorifics. On occasion, a squad of Space Marine Battle Brothers will prove adept at a particular form of combat, or earn great victories for their chapter through a single act of heroism. Such a group of warriors may find an unofficial title bestowed upon them. These titles make reference to their preferred style of fighting or their heroic acts. A single unit of Space Marines may turn the tide of battle. Those who have secured victory for their chapter or achieved a monumental feat against odds may earn an honorific title in recognition of their bravery. Roll on the chart or come up with your own titles for each of your Space Marine units. And this again is a D33 chart. We have the Quicksilver of Souls, the Vengeful Lance, the Stalwart Brothers, or the Indomitable Band. Okay, and again, you can choose to make up your own there. Okay, Necron names and titles. Before their transformation into murderous androids, the Necron were a race of flesh and blood who called themselves the Necrotyr. Necron nobles still bear the ancient names bequeathed to them upon their birth, as well as magnificent titles that they have since claimed for themselves. Necron nobles possess names and titles that betray their arrogance, a sense of superiority over the lesser races. This chart provides some example names to choose from. You may opt to roll on the chart in order to assign names to your units. Pick names from the chart or come up with your own names for each of the arrogant, imperious Necron nobles. Okay, and we have a D66 chart. There's Trezit the Shrouded, Dakar the Exalted, Zeminet the Chosen, Tekmar the Regal. Okay, and then we have Necron names. Necron nobles place great importance in names and reputation. Once taken grand titles that reinforce their status, wealth, and martial right. The names of the most powerful Necron fans and overlords, such as Imhotep the Stormlord, and Trazen the Infinite inspire fears in their foes. Most lower-ranking Necron also retain names and titles, save for Necron warriors, who no longer possess memories or freedom of will. Okay, and we have down here again how to roll a d66, and how to roll a d33 up here. Necron epithets. Necron nobles often take or are granted extravagant epithets that demonstrate their power and ruthlessness to potential rivals and serve as a warning to lesser races. These epithets often reflect victories or villainous deeds of the bearer. For example, Amenketh, a pharaoh of the Subkar dynasty, is known as the Crimson Scythe, thanks to the blood his armies have spilt. Necron nobles who have advanced the cause of their dynasty and won great victories against lesser races are known to take or be granted epithets and titles in recognition of their deeds. Roll on the chart twice or pick a pair of epithets for each of your Necron nobles. So we got Lord of the Starless Void, Loyal Retainer to the Silent King, Enslaver of Gods, Hunter of Vermin, Right Hand of the Triarch, and Imperator of the Cautious Nebula. Okay, Necron unit names. Though most Necron nobles treat their troops, particularly the near mindless Necron warriors, with contempt, they have been known to grant names and titles to those who serve them well in the battlefield. The Necron overlord Taranek, the Loyal, for example, names each unit of Necron immortals under his command in honor of the worlds he has conquered. A Necron noble will sometimes grant names to the units under their command. These names are usually reflection of the unit's battlefield role, or to refer to a grand battle they took part in. To grant a name to each of your Necron units, roll or pick from the chart, or come up with your own unique names for each unit. Okay, we have a D33 chart here for the Gilded Host, the Merciless Spearhead, the Bloodied Band, the Glittering Curse, and so on. Okay, and we have the Era of Indomitus, the Imperium Resurgent. Divided in two by the Great Rift and threatened by countless foes, the Imperium of Mankind looks to its greatest living hero for salvation. In the wake of the Great Rift's opening, the Imperium of Mankind was split into two. To the galactic north lay the Imperium Nihilus, cut off from Holy Terra and the Emperor's guidance. It was plagued by demonic hosts, rampaging bands of traitors, and predatory alien foes. The galactic south of the Great Rift was the Imperium Sanctus, where the Emperor light still shone. Yet, even here was war raged. Chaos warbands of alien forces threatened Terra itself. The factions of the Imperial military have a long history of failing to work with each other, content to pursue their own objectives rather than combine strength. But with Terra so threatened, they decided to come together in its defense. Only the combined efforts of the Imperium's armed forces may save the throne world from disaster. It was at this time that Reboot Gilliman first saw the full extent of the military might that the Imperium could bring to bear. So, should each and every one of the Imperium armed forces be capable of acting in unison? So it was that Guilliman, as Lord Commander of the Imperium, set about creating the Indomitus Crusade fleets, from which the ensuing area would take its name. Each of the vast Indomitus Crusade fleets were assembled to exact specifications of Rebuke Guilliman, bringing together soldiers and war machines of every military from every military order in the Imperium. It required all of Guilliman's force of will and skill at diplomacy to convince these many factions to abandon their wars and conflicts and come together in order to better defend the Imperium. Eventually, however, it was able to assemble a series of fleets that were the largest since the Imperium's founding some 10,000 years earlier. First, these fleets would secure the Imperium Sanctus, then they would plunge into the Imperium Nihilus and bring hope to the people of the Damned Realm. Now dawns a new age of war. Rebuke Guilliman. Now, many decades after the departure from Terra, these fleets still forge a path through the stars. The combined armies that make up each of the Crusade have been able to pool their expertise and firepower to great effect, liberating besieged Imperial worlds and following key objectives from chaos and alien invaders. Yet, as the era Indomitus grinds on, these victories are accompanied by as many defeats. The Imperium remains beset on all sides by an array of foes who seek to annihilate mankind, or usher in an eternity of chaos. Never before has the extinction of the Imperium of mankind seemed so close at hand. In this age of endless apocalyptic warfare, the Indomitus Crusade fleets may be the last beacon of hope amidst ever-rising tide of misery and despair. The Imperium at war. Representatives from various bodies of Imperium armed forces discussed the coming conflict. The Imperial War Machine. The Imperial War Machine is made up of many factions who each possess grand armies. While these factions often have vastly different objectives and motivations, the Indomitus Crusade has been forced to work together. The vessels of the Crusade fleet, Turitus, despite their mustering point, and head out into the void. Crusade fleets are made up of fighting forces from many different Imperial locations. Their task is to venture out and secure those territories deemed essential to the survival of the Imperium. Lord Commander. After venturing to Terra and communicating with the Emperor of Mankind, Rebuke Guilliman took the title of Lord Commander of the Imperium, an ancient title that has been only borne by a few warriors in the Imperium's long history. A Lord Commander has supreme authority over the Imperial armed forces and serves as the chairman of the ruling Senatorum Imperialis. Okay, now we're on to how to paint Space Marine details. In this issue's paint guide, you'll be applying Corax White and Retributor Armor base paints to all your Space Marine models in your collection. Gather paints and models. Before you begin following this paint guide, make sure you have the paints, water pot, and something to use as a palette while painting, or whilst painting. Techniques. These techniques will help you paint the fine details of your miniatures. Read carefully through the instructions and bear them in mind when you begin following the paint guide in the next page. Thinning paint. Use your brush to transfer paint from the pot to the palette. Add a little water to ensure the paint flows well, but not so much that it becomes translucent. Making a point. When painting fine details, it is important not to have too much paint on your brush. Twist the brush as you draw it out of the paint to form a sharp tip. Rotating the model. Rotating the model can make it easier to reach some areas. Here the model is being held at an angle to reach details on the underside. Bracing wrists. Bracing your wrists together will help you hold both of the model and the brush in place, improving the accuracy of your painting. Use the table. Resting your hands against the table will create a more stable painting platform and help you reduce the risk of creating mistakes. Brush direction. You can improve the accuracy of your painting by positioning the model so that you are moving the brush towards yourself. Okay, and we will be starting with Corax White. You'll begin by painting Corax White details on your Assault, Intercessors, and Aggressors. Thin your paint so that it is 3-part paint to 1-part water to achieve a smooth, even finish. You will need to apply 3 coats. Okay, so the first step, paint the raised close support icons on the Intercessor's right shoulder pads. Make sure you don't use too much paint. This will require 3 coats of paint. 2, do the same with the Ultramarines icon on the left shoulder pads. Always try to paint towards yourself where possible. This will help to avoid mistakes. 3, paint the rocks and ruins on the bases of the Assault Aggressors. After 3 coats of paint, the detail should appear to be smooth and solid white in color. Okay, fixing errors. If you notice that you have any white paint on areas where it doesn't belong, allow it to dry before painting over them, again with McCraig Blue. Okay, so we'll get the area set up, and then we'll take care of the Intercessors shoulder pads and the rocks underneath the Aggressor's base. Okay, start with this Intercessor right here. You'll see, I am wearing gloves this time. Especially with the captain, I actually had to take him off his base so I could get the inside of his cloak as well as his back of his legs there. So I figure with the gloves on, there's going to be less of a chance that I'm going to rub paint off. So, okay. Corax White here. And again, I'm using a detail brush. Okay. Okay, let's see how steady I can keep my hands. Oh, I do not like this at all. It's definitely a lot harder than it looks. You would think with a raised area like that, it would be easy. But not so much. Yeah, it's gonna have to be touched up. That's pretty bad. Now the close support markings might be a little easier. At least they're straight lines. Oh my god. Okay, I am terrible at this. Let's see, let's test that theory. Oh my god. I wonder if I got a finer brush if it would work better. I might have to try that. I believe I have one that's like a 6-0. I think I'm gonna try that after this guy. Oh, that's unimpressive. Actually, with this, I can use a bigger brush on that. It's a little watery. Put some more paint in there. It's still a little thin, but much better. See, and I'm actually glad I didn't glue these guys, so I can do things like this. Okay, I'm gonna let all this dry here, and then I'm gonna break out that fine detail brush and see if I can get these looking good. Okay, that part is done. The rubble on the base here. And actually deviated a little bit from the instructions. I tried just doing the raised area. I was getting all over. So what I did, still a little crappy, but I painted the entire area around the symbol. And that one's a little better. And then I went back with McCraig blue and just went around the very outline. That one I think is the best right there. So it's about as good as I can get them. If you got to study your hand than me, you know, feel free to just do the raised area. But I couldn't get it with any degree of accuracy, so I went with that. Okay, so that was the Assault Intercessors. And now we're moving on to the Primaris Captain. Let's see, it says paint the captain's face. It is important to thin your paint slightly so you do not apply too much at once, as too much paint may obscure details. Paint the left knee pad, tilt the model slightly as you go so that you can brush towards yourself for extra control and accuracy. The captain has skulls on his shoulder pads and backpack. Use a fine point on your brush to pick out these details with 3 thin coats of Corax white. Down here we have his cape. Much of the inside of the cape and loincloth is obscured by the model. Angle your brush as shown in these images to access these areas. Thin your paints and apply 3 thin coats using as few brush strokes as possible. Let each area dry before applying to the next. Okay, so now on to the captain. Let's get him out of here. Okay, there is the captain. Okay, I'm going to start with the wider brush here and see how it looks. If I have to go down to a detail brush, I will. Alright. Which I might have to on his face. That's... no, ain't too bad. Let me see if his hair gets... okay, no, the hair is not painted, just the face. And this is just so when the flesh color is applied, it'll actually show and not have to need a million coats because you're painting over that dark blue. So it just helps to have a lighter coat there. I got some on his neck joint there. That sucks. Okay, so we got that left knee pad. Now see, bigger areas like this, I don't mind using the bigger brush. But when you're doing those real fine details, I want my detail brush. The one I used to go around the edge, those symbols, was actually a 20-0 brush. That's the lowest I've seen. Okay, now the cape's going to be the fun part. Like, areas like this are not bad, but when you get to the parts that are behind them, it's a different story. It's actually why I had to take him off his base, because I couldn't get back there. And I know we're going to come back with white over it, which would be extremely hard if you're still on the base. Alright, so I'm going to get everything done with 3 coats, and then I'll be back. Okay, the Primaris captain is base coated in white. Well, the details are base coated in white. Okay, and next on the list is the Primaris lieutenant. Using the center ridge as a guide. Paint a stripe along the center of the helmet. Start by painting 2 lines along the side of the ridges, then fill in the gap. Okay, paint the front of the shield. It's important to thin your paint here so that it doesn't flow into the recesses. Make sure also that it does flow into the recesses. Make sure you let the shield dry after each coat. Carefully pick out the skull icons on the shoulder pad and the backpack of the Primaris lieutenant. Try to avoid clogging the eye sockets with paint. And down here, the Necron skull, I already did that, so I don't have to go over that. Okay, so let's get out the lieutenant here. And I'm going to attempt to do his lieutenant stripe here. And it looks like it follows this all the way down to, I believe, right between the eyes. Yeah, it goes all the way down to the ridge above the eyes there. Ain't too bad. Oh man. That's gonna need to be cleaned up. That looks about right. Whew. That's a pain. And it should go all the way down the back of his helmet. Hmm. Okay, well, I got the detail going here. Get these skulls. Oh, God, I can't believe I did that. Just put my thumb right on the part I just painted. But it looks like it already dried, so. Not too bad. Okay, get this finished up and come right back. Okay, that's it for the Corax White. Fairly decent job on the helmet stripe there. Skulls. Those I'm gonna have to go around with McCraig Blue. Shield. Again, you're gonna have to touch up his arm there. But now we have moved on to our next color, which is the Retributor armor. Okay, before applying Retributor armor, change your paintbrush. Change your paint water and wash your brush thoroughly to remove all traces of white paint. Gently shake the pot of Retributor armor for a few seconds before opening it. And we're starting again with the Intercessors. It says paint the wing skulls on the chest, then your paints with a small amount of water. Metallic base paints require far less thinning than other colors. Paint the shoulder pad trims, collect a small amount of paint on your brush, and angle the model so that you're painting towards yourself. Using the tip of your brush, paint the weapon's pommel and the skull symbols on the Intercessor's left gauntlets. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Shake up our paint here. Pop it open. So there's a very nice gold color. Okay. Get this detail brush out of the way for now. So let's see here. Yeah, so it requires less thinning, so we'll do 6 brushes of paint. And then that drop of water. Okay. That looks pretty good. Okay. So, pommel back here is going to be Retributor armor. I'm going to try my best not to get it on his hand. And that'll be more touching up I have to do. As if there isn't enough already. That's going to be rough. Wonder. But yeah, I think I'll just. Yeah, it's going to take his arm off. Yeah, so I can get in there and get that really good. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably going to do that with all of them. Because everything else, I think I'm going to want to use a detail brush on, but let's see. That ain't too bad. Oops. Oh, yeah, I really like this gold. Okay. Yeah, it's not too bad, but I still think I'd be better off with a detail brush. This I've already got spots I'm gonna have to go clean up. Okay, it looks pretty good. Alright, I'll finish up the rest of these intercessors and come back. Okay, the intercessors have gotten their gold details. There are some spots that are neater than others, but that can either be fixed or hidden with a wash. So we'll see how that turns out in the end. But not too bad. Okay. That is it for the intercessors. Now we have the aggressors. Okay. First up, the sergeant has many gold details on his power armor. Paint the skull and wreath on his shoulder, the skull on his knee, and the skull on his helmet. Okay, paint the frames and castings of the reliquaries hanging from the waist of all three aggressors. Use the tip of the brush to avoid the silver details. Okay, paint the raised cooling shrouds on each flamestorm gauntlets. Only paint the raised areas, leave the body of the flamer and nozzle silver. Okay, and you'll need to have a sharp point on your brush to paint the smaller details, such as the sergeant's wreath and skull. Okay, well, let's start with the sergeant. Okay, he is right here. Alright, gonna need some more Retributor armor, though. Used up the last of it on the intercessors, so. Okay. Get that real thinned out. Alright. I'm just going to use the bigger brush here for a little bit. I'll switch over to the detail brush. And just kind of pick out the big areas here. So looks like the lip is right there. Alright, now on the Intercessors, I could actually take the arms off to get the inside here. But most of these guys I had to glue on because the hoses weren't staying in place. So these guys are going to be a little more difficult to get the inside. But it shouldn't be too bad. They do have a pretty big surface area on these pads. Okay. And again, I can go around with McCraig glue to touch it up. So not too worried about that. Okay, and I got all the underneath here. Oh, there's some silver I forgot to touch up on his arm. From when I was painting the cables. Okay, right in there. The hardest part is not hitting the rest of the arm there. I suppose that should be done too. It looks almost like there's a normal shoulder pad underneath. And then this one over it. So that's how it's going to be painted, like that. Okay, I'll do these cooling shrouds. And then I'll get out the detail brush and do those other details. The skulls and the frames and that. And again, here you don't want too much paint because you don't want it to go into the holes. Clog those up. I did that a little bit with the silver. So, it's got a hair on them. Alright. Okay, there's one. Now we got the other one on the other side. But you do want to get in them enough that you can get gold to cover up the silver from the base coat. And you do want your brush just to come over the edge while you're doing those so you can get this raised side. But not to go down too far. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the detail brush. And I'll come back when all three are finished. Okay, the Intercessors have gotten their gold detail. Okay. In there. And the Sergeant. It's looking pretty good so far. And now move on to the next, which is the Primaris Captain. It says paint the hilt, grip, and crossguard of the Captain's power sword. Also paint the wreath on his shoulder pad and the wreath attached to his backpack. Okay, paint the raised areas at the base and tip of the scabbard. Don't worry if you get gold paint on the sheath, as we will be painting over this in a later area, later. Paint the marksman honor and the crux terminus. Both have details that need to be left silver. Use the image above and the finished gallery below as a guide. Okay, so there's that. Alright, now we'll get to painting mine and see if we can get it to come out that good. Alright. I will start with his power sword here. And I'm doing all this with that fine detail brush. it almost makes up for not having very steady hands. So. Okay, so I think just about everything on this is going to be done with the detail brush. Just try and, do a neater job on it. But I'm kind of curious to get to the end of the subscription and look back at these early ones and see if I've improved any at all, or if I still suck at painting. So, but I guess that's the purpose of these videos. Kind of track my progress. And if other people enjoy it, then that's bonus. Okay, that skull's just not wanting to cover. There we go. Okay, that does it for the cross guard. Is it the whole hilt? Yes. Get that little bit that's in his hand there. Ugh. So much for being neat. Just ran over his hand with gold. Okay. There we go. Sword's done. Alright, do up the rest of those details and be right back. Okay, and here's the gold detail on the Primaris captain. Okay. I almost thought I forgot a wreath on the skull, but there isn't one on the back. Okay, so he's looking pretty good. Now that leaves us with one last model. That is the Primaris Lieutenant. Okay, paint the trim on the shield and the details on its surface. Avoid the white of the shield, but don't worry if you get gold on the scroll work for now. Okay, paint the Lieutenant's iron halo, the hilt, and the crossguard of his sword, and any skulls on his armor, such as the one in front of his helmet. Okay, collect a small amount of paint on the bristles of your brush, then paint the skull and trim on the Lieutenant's left knee pad and the relics on his waist. Okay, and down here, collection of Space Marines are already beginning to look impressive, but you'll be returning to these models soon and apply more paints to make them even more realistic and heroic. Set them aside for now and move on with this issue's exciting playthrough. Okay, so get started on the Lieutenant. I'm going to start with the halo here. Which kind of sucks because that's been my the part I could grab them by, since it wasn't painted and I didn't have to worry about rubbing paint off. But I guess now that I'm wearing the gloves, it really doesn't matter. Just make sure to get all this. And again, with this guy, you got to be careful with these rays coming off of the halo. They are brittle and do bend and probably break pretty easily. I've been a couple of them. Not too hard to bend back into place, but just got to be aware of that. Okay, this is just about finished here. Okay, halo's done. Oh man, now the shield. That's gonna be fun. Let's see here. Okay, I don't like how the shade of this yellow. Probably should have put another coat on that, but oh well. Oh, too late now. Just is what it is. But I am getting some on the shield there, so I'll have to go back over that anyways. But I'll get this finished up and come back. Okay, and there is the Primaris Lieutenant with the gold trim. A little sloppy in some spots, but again, when we get to finish it, do any touch-ups that need to be done, as well as the wash, so should be pretty good at that point. Okay, so I'm going to set up board for this week's playthrough, and we'll have that coming right up. Okay, and for this week's playthrough, we have Necron Resurgence. The Space Marine forces trapped within the depths of the Necron base on Megaria have begun to turn the tide of battle in their favor. Yet deep within the cold heart of the Obsidian Tomb, something awakens, stirring the Necron defenders to action. Guiding hand, the Necrons march forth with renewed vigor, fighting with greater precision in tighter formation, as if guided by an unseen hand. Mission briefing. Emergency command protocols flood the android brains of a trio of Necron warriors. A voice calls from the shadows, urging them to secure the Necron facilities in their sanctum. The Space Marines must not be allowed to breach the stasis chamber of the Necron nobility. The nobility awakens. Deep within the Necron base, the stasis chambers of Necron nobility have sprung to life. Command protocols are sent in awakened Necron warriors to secure the chambers and protect their masters. As the Necron facility continues to flicker to life around them, The assault intercessors hunt down their foe in the darkness. The foul Xenos must be destroyed. Okay, and we've already done the setup. I got the dice up here. Okay, so the objective the Necrons are trying to get to awaken the nobility. Of course, we have 2 assault intercessors and 3 Necron warriors. Okay, rules. This page lists the rules used in this playthrough. Read and refer back to it when required. Okay, we got some new stats here. This S and T and S. S is strength, shows how strong the model is in combat. The T is toughness, shows how resilient the model is. Now, the S under weapon is the weapon strength, obviously. This shows how strong the weapon is. If it lists user, it's equal to the bearer's strength. Pistol. The pistol can be... This weapon can be used within enemy engagement range, but can only target a model within engagement range when doing so. Okay, melee. This can only be used in the fight phase while in engagement range of a foe. Rapid fire, double the attacks if the target is within half range. Note, a model may not make a shooting attack whilst in engagement range 1 inch of an enemy. Ranged weapons cannot target an enemy that is within engagement range 1 inch of a friendly model. A wound roll table. When an attack scores a hit, make a wound roll by rolling a dice. Find the result required to successfully wound the target by comparing the attacking weapon's strength characteristic with the target's toughness T characteristic on the table to the right. So if you're stronger than their toughness, it's going to be easier to hit. If you're weaker than their toughness, it's going to be harder. Like if your strength is twice or more than the toughness, the die result is +2. If your strength is just greater than the toughness, it's +3. If it's equal, it's +4. If the strength is lower than the toughness, it's +5. And if it's half or less of the toughness, it's +6. And they have a little example down here. It says for each successful hit, roll 1d6. Find the weapon's strength. Find the target's toughness. Find the required result on the wound table. Target wounded if score equals or beats the required result. Otherwise, attack fails. Heavy bolt pistol has a strength characteristic of 4. Necron warrior have a toughness characteristic of 4. So the two are equal. So you need a 4+ to cause a wound on that attack. Okay, and we're starting off with the Space Marines' turn. Okay, it says the Assault Intercessors are too far away from the Necron Warriors to shoot or charge, so they advance instead. As Necron Warriors are beyond the range of the Assault Intercessors' bolt pistols, the ability to charge, the Space Marines must advance before they can eliminate their foes. Follow the playthrough. Use an example at the bottom of the page if you need help. Okay, 1. Assault Intercessors sprint forward to close in upon the Necron Warriors. Follow the how to move. We know how to move. And printed terrain, for purposes of this game, does not exist. So later on, when we do actually have these shipping containers, they will be terrain that you cannot move through. But for the purpose of this, we're treating it as they are not there. Okay, so Intercessors are going to advance, starting with this guy up here. Ooh, he gets a 1. Okay, and his move is 6, so he gets a move of 7. So, let's see here. 7, so he's going to go right there. And the next one, he gets a 2. They're really moving fast. Okay, so we an 8. Okay, well, they closed a little bit of the distance. Okay, and nothing else they could do, so goes on to the Necron's turn. The Necron warriors may move and shoot the advancing assault intercessors. The Necron warriors lumber towards the Space Marines, intent on slaying their foes and reaching the stasis chamber beyond. Though they are capable of fighting, Necron warriors are not built for melee combat. Yet they must press forward as they are to reach, if they are to reach this noble chamber. Follow the playthrough. Use examples at the bottom of the page if you need help. Move. The Necron warriors lumber forward, weapons raised. Okay, well, they have a move of 5, and their range is 24. So, let's see. 24 inches. Yeah, they don't even need to move. Okay, is that right? 24 inches? Then how do you get rapid fire? Oh, if it's within half of the range. Okay, so the range for their Gauss rifles is 24. So if they are within 12 inches of a Marine, then they get rapid fire. So let's see. They have a move of 5, so they can move to here. I'm going to move him to right there, just to get him in rapid fire range. Okay, now, since it's rapid fire, he'll get to roll 2 dice instead of 1. And, okay. So those are hits. Now, because they need a, their ballistic skill is 3, so they need 3 or better. Okay, so now we got to roll to see if they wound. Strength of the weapon is 4. Toughness of the intercessors is 4. So they're equal. So the roll's got to be 4 or better. Okay, 1 wound. Okay, so the intercessor has 1 pending wound. He still has an opportunity to save. The Gauss Flare has an armor piercing of 1. So the save is 3 plus. So with the armor piercing, it would be 4 plus. Okay, he does not save. Alright, and intercessors have how many wounds? Ooh, they only have 2 wounds. Okay, but the Necrons only have 1, so. Okay, this guy here, seeing that his buddy has injured the 1 Marine, he's going to move into rapid fire range. She's going to go right here. And he's going to try and finish off that Intercessor. Okay, gets one hit. And it hits, but does not wound. Okay, so that Marine is looking pretty good at the moment. Well, I mean, still got one wound, but... And there's no way that guy is going to get into rapid fire range, so he's going to try and engage... Yeah. This one up here. Okay, got one hit. And it's a wound. And it is, there's no save on that. Okay, so both these guys are hurt. Okay, let's move on to Space Marine's turn. Assault Intercessors can now move to ensure they are within range of their foes before firing on them. Space Marines, turn 2. The Necrons continue their relentless advance. In response, Space Marines raise their pistols and fire a volley of bolt rounds at the advancing androids. The Assault Intercessors are melee combatants armed with short range weapons. They will find it easier to destroy Necrons if they close in. Follow the playthrough, use examples at the bottom of the page if you need help. Okay, let's see here. Assault Intercessors move towards their foes. Assault Intercessors fire their heavy bolt pistols one at a time. Do the following with each model that is able to make a shooting attack. Okay, the range on their bolt pistols is 18 inches. Okay, so alright, so they're both in pistol range. So he's gonna aim at this one here. And is looking for a 3 or better. Misses. Okay, this one is going to aim at this one here. 6 hit. And the strength is 4. Toughness is 4. So, again, 4 to wound. No wound. Okay. Okay, that did not go over well. Okay, the Space Marines move to block the Necron warriors' advance, hurling their bodies in front of the Necrons and getting close enough to strike their foes. Having closed within the foes, the Assault Intercessors may now attempt to charge and fight them. By charging their foes, bringing the Stratus chainsaws to bear, Assault Intercessors finally begin to overwhelm the Necron warriors. Follow the playthrough and use examples at the bottom of the page if you need help. Model is within 12 inches of an enemy and not already in engagement range. It can charge. Roll 2 dice. This is the charge distance. Alright. You know what? I'm going to back that up a second because I should have moved these guys before they fired. So I'm going to do that now. And yes, I understand if I was actually playing a game with people, this would probably be considered cheating. But it's just a playthrough for the rules, so I forgot to do it. Okay, so he charges in. Bam, he is in range. And the chainsword, I believe, is 2 dice, yes. Okay, a 3 and a 5. Those are 2 hits. And the chainsword is equal to user strength, which is also 4. So again, 4 better to wound. Ooh. Okay. So we got 2 pending wounds. It's armor piercing of 1 on the chainsword. So the Necrons, ooh, they got to get 5. He's got to get 5 or better. Ooh, he saved 1, but unfortunately only has 1 wound, so he is dead. Okay, now this guy is gonna charge this one. Okay, again, that's more than enough. And swinging with the chainsword. Okay, 1 hit. And 1 wound. And no save. That Necron is dead. Okay, and I think that is, yes. Okay, that is as far as the playthrough goes. So we'll now continue with the Necron's turn. He's going to rapid fire at this Intercessor here. Just needs 1 hit to take him out. Okay, and he gets 1 hit and 1 wound. Okay, so the Intercessor needs a 4 or better to save, and he does not. Okay, so it is now 1-on-1. Okay, the Intercessor is going to close the distance here. I'll first attack with his bolt pistol. He hits and wounds. And the Necron warrior does not save. Okay, so as you can see, these rules are switching up and adding a little more to the dynamic every time. So, but that is this week's playthrough. And providing the next shipment comes in on time, I'll be back next week, same time, with the next issue. We'll see you then.